Hi, friends and fellow Earth Angels. It's Gladys. Welcome back to another one of my weekly Sunday card readings. And this spread will start by covering February 20th through the 26th, or whenever you're guided to watch, as I always intend these to be timeless readings. So welcome, friends. Quick announcement. So I will be away in Sedona, Arizona on a women's retreat. I will be co-facilitating with some other practitioners on a glorious, healing, soothing, nurturing women's retreat. So there may not be a reading next week, the week of February and the beginning of March. I'm not sure what my schedule is going to look like yet, so I just wanted to give that quick announcement. If there is, it'll be a surprise and it won't be as formal. But there may not, depending on I'm traveling that day, and there'll be a lot going on in that time. So that being said, that's my quick announcement. So let's talk about this week to come. So on February 20th, maybe it's the day you're watching this when this gets released, or maybe you're watching it throughout the week. On February 20th, we have the planet Pluto, returning to its birthplace in the United States astrology chart. This is the first time that we are getting to experience this Pluto energy, so it's very different. I have to say, my reading last week was very different for me. I had to go back and listen to it, and to be honest, I debated whether I wanted to post it or not, because there was a lot of information, and there's so much more that I want to share in the work that I do, which I'm really going out to Sedona personally to pray on it, and how I'm going to do that. And I feel like last week's reading was a touch on the changes that I'm seeing on the planet, the energy shifts that I'm experiencing in the spiritual community, and I'm still processing how I want to navigate it to support you on your journey of where you're at. Remember, you're either here because you're hearing these messages and it's supporting you on your spiritual growth journey. You may be guided here to reinforce and validate your journey that you're already on, or it may not make any sense at all, and what I'm doing is planting seeds, right? So everybody's moving in these energies in different ways. So I did post it. I'm glad I posted it, but I'm feeling the difference in the energies. And so you may be feeling different. You may be experiencing, sometimes it's like Twilight Zone-ish, or you're in the place of observation. And I feel like we have to remember with this Pluto return, it is a different energy that's activated here in the United States, the astrology chart in the United States. The last time Pluto was in this space was 1776. Which is when the U.S. was founded. So we're having, especially here in the United States, massive shifts. There is spiritual and societal deconstruction and liberation. So Pluto is the planet of transformation. It represents transformation. And it symbolizes purging, power, and presence. So control is a thing. And we just stepped into the Leo full moon, right? Leo was, the full moon was in Leo for like a minute, and then it popped into Virgo. But it is the Leo. We are in the energy of the Leo full moon, which can activate the energy of feeling powerless, or feeling out of control, or becoming more empowered and practicing more flow and movement instead of trying to plan and control everything. So I just got some notes here. It says, being present means that you allow the future to unfold without you wanting to control the outcome. We may be experiencing this, right? And I feel like my readings for these last few years have been preparing us for these shifts, right? And we don't know until we know. I like to to compare it to, buying a house with earth angels. We can look online all that we want. We can, let's say you want to buy a house and you're going online, you're looking at all these properties, but ultimately you're not going to know your home is your home until you walk into it and you feel the energy. So a lot of times, and this is where, the introversion of the Earth Angel community, it's like we do need to come out of our comfort zone, right? And I think that's what I was talking about last week, is like being stuck sometimes. Sometimes we can feel stuck and we can seek external resources that may or may not be the healthiest influence, right? And so we have to remind ourselves that, if we're having a hard time taking the steps to move forward, we have to acknowledge that we're in a comfort zone, right? It might be a safe space or an illusion of a safe space, but I feel like with this new energy that's coming in, we're going to be asked to move forward one step at a time, but we're not going to know the whole picture, and we're not going to know until we know. I hope that makes sense. Pluto and this energy also means leaving the past behind, right? And so many of you have been working on resolving and healing and learning from the past and how to move forward with it, with the knowledge and the wisdom and the information in a supportive way going forward, right? So you've worked through breakups, you've worked through relationship stuff, you worked through money stuff, you worked through your own gifts, right? Your intuition, your spiritual insights. This is the journey that so many have been on, finding your way, making shifts in the dynamics of the people who are in your life. There's been so many adjustments. And so as we leave that behind, as it has contributed to you becoming who you are today, it will actually calm your nervous system, right? So as a result, you'll be able to hear the divinely inspired call to action at any given moment and heed it, right? It's having patience. We can force something, or, we can project an image or an idea that might not necessarily be truth, right? Or we may be seeing that in the world. And, earth angels have a tendency to be integrity and authentic and, like fiercely protective of the divine energy. And I feel like we're going to be called to action to share what you know from your most authentic, genuine place, right? So it's going to be time to share your gifts even more so. And it's not necessarily you going out and finding the energies. They will align and they will be called to you, right? So many of you are making changes in your life. Some of you are transitioning out of job positions. Some of you are entering new dynamics in relationships. Many of you are experiencing different kinds of partnerships. Some might be changing households, and some might be growing families, and some may be accepting that life isn't unfolding the way, society predicts, let's say. And then there's the acceptance of that. So, okay, well, if this isn't going to be my life, now what? And we're kind of opening to now the surrender and allowing the divine to open the doors of opportunity, because now we're looking at a more broader perspective as to what's next, right? So trust that you are safe, trust that you are always taken care of, and trust that all is well. That's my mantra this week. Your immune system benefits, your energy levels will be higher, and you will feel lighter. And these energies, so those insights come from Tanya Gabrielle. She is a astronumerologist, and she is phenomenal if you want to learn more about the Pluto return. I also recommend Molly McCord. She's another really great astrologer who breaks down these energies even more so. But I think it's important. I'm in that world. Obviously, I don't know everything about it because mine is more, in the divine sense. But a lot of what I channel is a vibration of what's going on in the stars. And sometimes I know it, and a lot of times I don't, right? So I think it's great to get different kinds of information and really sit with what resonates with you, as opposed to going externally for somebody to tell you what to do, how to feel, what actions to take, and so on and so forth, because that's kind of manifesting in the mind and it's just not sustainable. So we're really shifting these vibrations in these outdated paradigms of manifesting and law of attraction and, what else? All this other stuff that's been out there for eons. We're shifting energies, and it's exciting, but it's also unknown. And again, it's also a process. So again, we're all in it. That being said, this week I want to work with the divine family. I am going to call in the big guns this week. And I'm going to work with the Father, the Mother, the Son, and the Guardian of Light. So I'm going to start with pulling a card from the Mother Mary Oracle cards, working with the Mother. And then I'm going to pull from the Loving Words from Jesus, working with the Son. Oh, there are the sirens, like almost on cue. And then I'm going to work with the Guardian of Light, the Archangel Michael. He's the protector. He is basically the bodyguard for Earth angels on this planet. It's so perfect because I hear the sirens in the background. And this hasn't happened in a while. I think it happened last week. But he is coming back loud and proud. And then I'm going to pull from the Father energy. I'll use the Love and Light cards for the Father energy. The chief of the gods, right? And then I will finish up with an overall blessing from the Divine Abundance Oracle cards. So that'll be my reading this week. Let me start. Open it with my opening prayer. Let me invite in all your guardian angels and guides, the archangels, the ascended masters, the Divine Mother and Father, and all their holy beings of light that would like to assist with this guidance for you this week. I'm going to ask that the messages that come through be for your best and highest good and the best and highest good of all concerned. I'm going to connect my energy to the energy of these decks. Mother Mary, Jesus, the Archangel Michael, God. All right, so let's begin. Mother Mary, what is the most important message that you have for the Earth Angels this week? Again, the reading's going to be a little different. I'm not going to necessarily do the guide and the healing and the action and the gift card. I'm just going to give you messages that can support you this week and going forward. Mother Mary, what is the most important message that you feel your Earth Angels need to hear? What do they need to know this week? All right. Oh, Our Lady of Sacred Sisterhood. Already this feels like the energy of connection and aligning with others, like-minded souls. Again, connection, community, family. So again, let me read the card here. It says, the Divine Feminine is awakening in your heart. I love it. She guides you to apply your heart wisdom to any challenges in your life, transforming something that once was a cause of concern or even fear into a chance to realize the depth, power, and spiritual capacity of your soul. You are strong enough to open up and let others connect to your powerful, awakened, and beautiful heart. I love it. So in a way, I feel like Mother Mary is saying, I'm a sister of the light working with you. So I was debating whether to share this story, but it's kind of coming up, and I think it's important. I think it's relevant. So I am, as I mentioned in the beginning, I am leaving for Sedona, Arizona. And in order, so one of the contingencies was to get a negative COVID test. So we needed to go, everyone on the trip needs to go and get tested. And then submit that to the organization so that they're aware that, 48, 72 hours before the trip, everybody's been tested. So, I kind of live in a bubble here. I still practice social distancing and, my services are still limited in the office and, I'm doing my due diligence based on the information I have. And so, I got myself all worked up. Talk about feeling out of control, right? I got myself all worked up that what if I didn't pass this COVID test? What if I can't go on the trip? I don't want to disappoint. The total people pleaser, right, was activated. I'm like, what if this happens? It's out of my control. And I worked myself up to a sniffle, friends. And I was eating wheat, and it was Valentine's Day, so I was eating sugar and dairy, and I don't normally eat that stuff. And I totally know that my body was like inflamed, because that's what happens. I just have an adverse reaction to those foods because I don't have them very often. So anyway, long story short, I worked myself up to a sniffle, and the sniffle in my head became, I was never going to be able to go on this trip. So the morning of the test, I was anxious. I just had anxiety and worried, and I just kept feeling in my mind, surrender, surrender, surrender it. And again, it doesn't matter how far along we are in the spiritual journey, we're also human beings, right? 100% human, 100% divine, and we're going to have these experiences. This is a great way to show how to navigate these energies of feeling out of control, right? So I sit down, it was a couple minutes before I leave. I sit down on my couch, and I just put my hand on my heart and my other hand on my solar plexus, and I just invited God in. I'm like, God, this is part of my service. This is part of my mission work. I need to be there. I called on the Archangel Raphael, and I asked Archangel Raphael, to just work in healing my body, and I had to surrender it. And I sat there until I felt peace. And then from that place, I got up, and I had this courage, I had this strength. I'm like, all right, I got to face this test. Now, mind you, I've always had test anxiety, so now this is like my childhood coming up. This is my college days coming up, test anxiety and performance and all that stuff. Some of you might be able to relate to that. And so here I am. Oh my God, what if I don't pass this test? What's going to happen, right? So all this stuff was coming up, and I recognized it. And again, I didn't know that stuff was there until it was there. And so one of the most loving things that I could do for myself, that you could do for yourself, is give yourself some space to self-soothe and nurture. And that's exactly what I did. I went to my favorite spot on the couch, my little cozy corner of the couch. I nestled up, and I sat, and I waited until I felt the comfort of the divine around me. And then I leave, and I'm driving there, and as I'm getting closer, I'm feeling the anxiety build up in my body, and I'm just like, that's it, surrender. I'm like, there's nothing I can do at this point. I acknowledge the fear, I acknowledge the feeling out of control, and I breathe through it, and I just love that part of me, right? As a teacher, right? It gave me an opportunity to nurture myself at a time when I really needed to. So that's kind of my reminder, like, oh yeah, self-nurture. I just turned on the street where the test location was, and all of a sudden Billy Joel's Faith comes on the radio, and all of a sudden I'm hearing, you gotta have faith, 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 which is why I put the faith out today. And I just started laughing so hard. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, angels, you're so funny. And so I'm having this, and it was like all the angst and anxiety just melted away. Like, remember, we've orchestrated this, and you're fine. And so I pull up. The car that was in front of me had just pulled out as I was pulling in. And the guy was funny. He made a joke, and the girl came out, and she's like, this is going to be easy, and she was so happy and so positive, and I just felt so good. And I left the song playing in the background because I was shaking a little bit. And so, again, she takes the swab, and she goes in, and I pull out, and no sooner do I get to the end of the driveway and the song stops, it finishes. But I noticed it because there was like 5 seconds, what seemed like an eternity, of like dead air. There was nothing. Usually on a radio station, like the DJ kicks in or there's a commercial, and there was like a pause in the space, enough for me to notice that I felt like faith, the energy of faith, was guiding me all through this test. So I pull out onto the street, and the music starts, like another song came on, and I was just like, that's it. Life is great. I'm good. This is all fine. And of course, the test came back, and it was negative, and it was, I don't know how it comes out for you, but it was green, and green is healing, and I was just relaxed. And I remember thinking like, wow, I totally worked myself up. But again, I didn't beat myself up. It just made me realize how powerful we are. It just reinforced that energy, right? How our minds and our energy. So I feel like this Pluto energy can go either way. And I feel like that's where Mother Mary is reminding you, right? Of going into the heart wisdom to any challenges in your life. And that is like a call to the divine, right? We sink down from our mind into our heart, into the depths of our body's wisdom, right? And so we're being asked to navigate life from that place as opposed to being in the mind, right? So again, it says, transforming something that once was a cause of concern or even fear into a chance to realize the depth and power of your spiritual capacity of your soul. That story is a perfect example of how, even though I was fearful, even though I still had the anxiety, I honored it. I opened up love for it. I sat with it. And I surrendered it to the divine, and they showed up for me. For me, it's numbers and music, and it couldn't have been an any more perfect song. So know that if you're in that space of feeling out of control, or you're getting angsty or anxiety, or there's that people pleaser that's getting activated, all parts of the Earth Angel characteristic traits that, again, help to empower us as we grow through them and we learn about them, the divine is always with us, right? And that was a perfect example. Like, oh yeah, that's right. I am powerful. And I was aware of working myself up. And then, it was almost like the divine was reminding me that we are, it's like they're saying we are more powerful than fear, right? And it was almost like that energy just dispelled that energy. So you may be feeling that. It may be coming up again with the Pluto return, whether you know it or not. That's why I like to share these things. But again, I also encourage you, if you're curious about it, to go to sources that are ethical and responsible in the information that they share. And for me personally, again, Tanya Gabrielle and Molly McCord, they're great energies to start with, but you might also be guided in other ways. So anyway, I'm so glad Our Lady of the Sacred Sisterhood came up. Mother Mary, she is your sister in the light, and she is helping you, assisting you. I also feel Mary Magdalene's energy, right? If there's anybody out there who has a special connection to her, she helps us understand the heart mind and going into the body's wisdom. And this is where I also feel like Perpetua, Thecla, Teresa of Avila, I've been really privately studying spiritual feminine theology. And so I've just, in Joan of Arc and those energies, and, Perpetua, Thecla, Teresa of Avila, Mary Magdalene, they were really exploring the heart mind. So if you're curious about that, I encourage you to dive deeper. It really is a soul journey, and they are such a powerful energies that will guide you into exploring that energy, right? But it comes from the breakdown of the ego, like the limiting ego, right? The lowercase e, and helps you get out of the artificial light, the lowercase l, and expand into the superluminal light, the capital L. I love it. All right, so Jesus, what is your message? And again, all this information is just seeds being planted, and the energy will be activated, the information will be activated when it's time for you to use it. So, Jesus, what message do you have for your Earth Angels this week? So we've got the love of the sisterhood, the heart mind. What message do you have for your Earth Angels? What message do you have for your Earth Angels? Okay, let's see here. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. So I feel like many of you have been exploring this energy. Maybe you've been in your ethical, most authentic, loving, genuine space. Maybe you're helping God's people, showing up in integrity. And I feel like Jesus is just saying, well done. A lot of times we can be challenged with insecurities, especially because we're navigating an energy that's not necessarily tangible, right? So we're following this lead of this energy that's not necessarily like, so-and-so, you need to do this, you need to do that, right? The divine doesn't speak in that sense. The divine is consistent and it's persistent, but it's never really going to tell you what to do. That's kind of like an egoic place. So the divine speaks in an encouraging, loving way in ways that are consistent and persistent. So again, maybe 4s show up for you, and or the series of numbers show up over and over and over, and it's just a reminder that the divine is with you. Call on the divine for assistance, right? Ask them for to go forward and be a guide, to open doors of opportunity. This is where we're learning to co-create, and I feel like Jesus is saying this week, well done, thou good and faithful servant. And I mean, it feels like servant, so that could be triggering for some with, deep religious roots, who are adjusting to those old paradigms. I mean, they're all beneficial, and there's also room for growth in a lot of them. So as it says, thou good and faithful servant, for me, it feels like as I am servant, I serve God's people in times of need, and so I'm happily a servant to the power of the divine, the glory of the love that knows way better than I ever could. And so part of my journey into evolving to be able to be a spiritual advisor and a gifted medium and an intuitive, a teacher, right, is for me to listen to the call of the heart, to listen to the divine, even when I didn't want to do things, or eat my ego part, right? So walk away from situations, make these changes, leave this, do that. And it was never, how can I say this? So in the corporate job that I had as a paralegal, the divine never said, leave that job. I felt out of alignment with it. It was uncomfortable, to the point where I was crying every morning and every night. And so it wasn't necessarily the divine. And I'm sharing my interpretation so that I know a lot of people right now are really challenged with what's divine and what's ego, what's in the mind. And there is a lot of that out there. So how it works for me is that I base it on how I feel. And so the divine never said to me, this man that you're with is no good, get rid of him. The divine never said to me, this job is toxic, get out of it. It was painful in my body, right? And again, they all served a purpose. They were all important for the experiences that I needed to have in that moment. Now that takes deep healing, right? I mean, that takes time to get to that place of forgiveness and being able to release that energy. I see how powerful it was, important it is, but it's not like the divine ever said, get out of that job, or leave this. I was feeling, we love you so much and we want more for you. And so the squeeze was the fear and the ego that was keeping him in this place, and the resistance to the flow and the change that was occurring in my life. And so the pain and the squeeze that I was feeling was actually propelling me forward on my spiritual journey, where I was accessing wisdom, right? And so for me, it's not necessarily an energy that talks in my head, it's how I feel in my body. Right? When it was time for me to leave, I had this beautiful office. It was like a double suite, and I absolutely loved it, but it was becoming a financial burden, and it was limiting the time and energy that I could have in my private life. And so I started to feel that squeeze. Money started to become tight. I started to feel less in love with it. And again, I knew in my body it was time for change, but I also knew that I had to follow the divine, have divine patience and follow the steps when it was time to make adjustments. So I believe it was coming into January 2015. I'm pretty sure it was 2015. I remember thinking this year is going to be time to leave my office. And I actually tried to do it in April of that year, and it just was not working out. And I was like, all right, I'm here for a reason. And then summer of that year came, and I had some more financial stuff come up, and I'm like, that's it. And I remember declaring, I want to be out of here and in my new office by September of 2015. And again, that wasn't just me sitting around waiting for the new office to pop up in my life. That was me going online, showing up at properties, feeling it out. That's what I'm saying when we're talking about manifesting and law of attraction. And, it requires action, inspired action. And it really requires you being in your feeling body to navigate these changes. And this is where it can become a little bit sticky, right? So there's accountability in showing up for what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And I feel like Jesus is saying this week, so many of you are doing that. Keep going. You are serving the divine in such a powerful, beautiful way. Maybe it's just being a listening ear for someone who's crying and having a hard time. Maybe it's just sharing your words of wisdom to support others, right? It's an equal exchange of energy where you're comforting, supporting, teaching, and inspiring others through living your best life, right? So I feel like Jesus is giving you a heads up. Mother Mary is saying, hey, good job. You're going into the heart mind. This is the pathway forward, right? And in a lot of ways, especially with the divine feminine, it is, your feelings and the emotions you're having in your body is your power, right? I've had a few women in my office this week who reluctantly, my office is where people come to cry. It happens. And I love that it happens. I love the vulnerability. I love that I can offer a safe space for people to come, men and women, to release the tears. And it's so cathartic, right? Even on my online sessions. But I've had a few people, women, that have come in this week who apologized for the tears, or I don't want to cry. And it was just so beautiful to see, when I would say, it's okay, it's good for you, you're in a safe space, this is exactly what you need, don't worry, you're feeling the love of the divine touching your heart. Like, whatever it was inspired to say in those moments, I could literally see the relief and the baggage being released, right? From trying to maintain control and being on top of everything and figuring it all out. So, and again, we're carrying a lot of these weights, right? Some of you are the leaders of your family. Some of you are, leading, other people. And there's a lot of pressure. And this is why I talk so much about the divine. And in a way, we're being of service to humanity. We're shining our light. We are the divine personified. And I feel like Jesus is just reminding you may not be feeling it, but he's saying, good job. You are serving the light in an integritous, beautiful way. Wow, I love that. All right, Michael, what is your message this week? Guardian of the light, Archangel Michael is the angel that helps us to move through worries and fears. He's the angel that opens doors of opportunity. He helps with decision making. He works with the powers that be. So many beautiful aspects of the Archangel Michael. All right, Michael, what is the most important message that you want your earth angels to hear, see, feel, and know this week? All right, let's go with this one. The person you're asking about is trustworthy. So interesting. So the prayer here says, thank you for helping me have faith so I can open my heart wider in my relationships. I am grateful for your protection, ensuring that only trustworthy people are in my life. So remember, the intention of these readings is for the week to come. I don't necessarily market myself as a fortune teller or a psychic, although that can be part of the work. My intention is to support people. My gifts are to support people who are going through hard times and being able to support them spiritually, helping them understand and give them a spiritual perspective on the experiences they're having, right? And giving them tools to navigate this thing we called life. So, why did I say that? Oh, yes. So going forward, again, this week you could be questioning changes, right? And so that message could be specific for someone. Remember, even people in our lives who can be a challenge, remember, everybody is a mirror to us in some form or another. And again, I like to share this as like, if if you have somebody, this is a good example, if you have somebody in your life who is, this came up this week, a pack rat, let's say, and hoards a lot of stuff, and maybe you're, or keeps a lot of stuff, or, you know, whether it's emotional or, you know, connections in some way. If you're somebody who prefers to have things neat and organized and tidy, the mirror is, if that's a hot button for you, the mirror is to ask yourself, are you in some way hoarding or packing or suppressing emotions, right? So not always just because you see somebody and that's a hot button, it irritates you, it can actually reflect back, if you're sensitive to it, the chaos that might be going on inside. So it's not necessarily literally you're a pack rat. The mirror is you could be packing and repressing your own emotions, right? And so this is, like, again, deep healing work that, you know, I encourage. Coach, some type of like coaching with, you know, somebody who has the you know, the history, the education, the licensing, the time logged, you know, the hours, you know, people who have expertises in certain areas, and everybody's different, right? So, and again, I think that's where, you know, this is coming in as like, the universe sending in supportive people in your life, right? So maybe you're debating whether to work with somebody. Maybe you're debating whether to start making changes and gaining support in that sense. So that could be this message, but again, it's based on how you feel. So the intention, again, the projection for like the future here, again, is have faith. Thank you for helping me have faith so I can open my heart wider in my relationships. So again, I feel like, you know, in a way, as this is unfolding, Mother Mary is saying, trust yourself. And Jesus is saying, like, you know, you are doing a great job. But I think also, too, we have to remember that we can't go it alone. Or, I mean, we could go it alone. I mean, really, most of us try. But in actuality, it's the support that allows us to grow faster, right? And, you know, I have had some really great support from a therapist and a spiritual mentor and cousin friend of mine and my boyfriend, and these energies have come into my life at a time where I was evolving and growing and I was aligning and shifting, right? So I don't go it alone anymore. I do have beautiful support, but it is limited. And I mean, there's only so much time and energy that we can have, especially if you're in service-oriented fields, right? It does take time and energy and effort to nourish and grow relationships, right? So I know, I'm very well aware now the time and energy that I have, right? And really, I know how my body feels, you know, when I'm around those energies, and they feel supportive and loving and nurturing and empowering and maddening sometimes and confusing sometimes, and it's all good, right? So I feel like this is opening up more energy to allow in mutually supportive, beneficial people in your life that are faith-filled, right? So that are aligned with your spiritual journey. It says, I'm grateful for your protection, ensuring that only trustworthy people are in my life. So this could be speaking to some shifts. Remember, we're in a 6 universal year now, and 6 is about home and family and community and connection, right? So we're in the thick of it now. And February 21st, you know, 20th, 21st, 22nd, you know, this is where these big shifts are popping out, these energies of the dense energy that we've been in. Now it's time to like do something with it, right? Take action. And again, not necessarily know the whole picture. So we really got to trust our body's wisdom as we're making decisions and we're connecting and we're making deals and we're working with people. You know, you've got to have that clarity of who you are and what your values are and what your gifts are and what will work for you, right? All right, so let me see here. God, chief of the angels, chief of the gods. What is your message for your Earth Angels this week? What is the most important message you need to hear them to hear, see, feel, and know? Well, that was easy. Patience is its own reward. Oh, it says, you crown the year with a bountiful harvest. Even the hard pathways overflow with abundance. This is one of the things I speak to a lot in the work I do with others in soul coaching and the people on their spiritual journey is as much as society wants you to believe that life is short, when we're present and on this spiritual journey, it can be really long and fulfilling and exciting, right? And so if you're in a place where you might be rushing things, trying to force things, make things happen, maybe you're trying to peek behind the curtain, before it's time for the big reveal. A lot of times in the spiritual communities with the fortune telling, right? We want to peek behind the curtains. We want to know what's going to happen next. And I have to say, sometimes you'll get glimmers of that, and sometimes it's trickery because you're not necessarily supposed to know. And if it's something that you're being divinely protected from, right? This is why it can get confusing sometimes. So I feel like God is rewarding you for your patience, right? So, I really took some time to heal. And for me personally, my karma is relationships with friendships, relationship with my family, and relationships with romantic partners, those that should be romantic partners and those that definitely should not be romantic partners. So that's my karma. It's been my life karma, and to really navigate all kinds of relationships. And what I realized is that I was expending so much energy on all these external relationships, families, romantic partnerships, friends. And what happened was I completely lost who I was. And as a true Earth Angel, I became chameleon-like, and I was what everybody needed me to be. Right? And so I really needed to take the time, and I was on a 3-year journey of being single. I mean, I had dated, but nothing was really panning out. And at one point, I just had to accept that I need this relationship with myself. And I kept running away. I was afraid. I was afraid of my own power. I was afraid of the if God was going to tell me that I was meant to be alone forever, and, I was afraid of, what the divine was going to tell me. And so I was running away from myself, which created more pain and chaos in my life. So the patience that I had to really take the time to dig into healing. So I did work on attachment styles and work on the inner child and all these really beautiful therapeutic healing modalities that are out there. There's so many beautiful holistic therapists that are integrating the psycho-spiritual energy. It's so powerful now, friends, that the space that I am in right now, life has become beautifully blessed. Now, I mean, as you know, if you followed me, I still have some challenges and I have some really great losses in a short amount of time, but the way that I could navigate through it in a healthy way was because I had done that work on myself, and I knew myself in a more authentic way, not what everybody wanted me to be, but who I was. And so I feel like right here with this patience has its own reward is God is reminding you that life can be long and fulfilling. And I think sometimes we get caught up in the short term. Oh, I have this idea. I need to work on it now. I have to have this class. I need to do this now. I had this experience. I need to do more about it. I had this person. This needs to happen now. And we need to be married and families and babies and house and, or this job. I need to be at the top, or, I'm guided with these gifts and I need to do all the things, right? So, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, but it can be a lot harder. Trust me, I did it all. The pathway can be a lot harder when you're shooting in the wind and just kind of, what is that term, praying and spraying, right? So I feel like many of you Earth Angels have been taking the time to learn about yourself, to grow and to heal. and you are going to be and are divinely blessed because of it, right? So we have to kind of expand that short-term thinking into long-term. This is life homework. This stuff that I share is like life homework, and it's stuff that we have to show up to, and we have to be reminded of. And this is why, you know, the divine comes in with messages that are consistent and persistent, because they know that we can get lost amongst the trees, right? We can go out there in the societal world and get confused and caught up in energy. So if you have been on your healing journey, if you have been making changes, I feel God is reminding you this week that your patience is being rewarded. I have to say, the beautiful business that I have now, the practice that I have, the relationships that I have, and the experiences I have was worth the wait, I can tell you. And I can tell you, it doesn't mean that it stops my own healing journey. You know, of course, you know, as you know, I was growing, I'm like, oh, when I get that, you know, boyfriend, or when I get that house, or when I get that clientele, then everything will be great. And, you know, unfortunately, that's not life, right? So we have to kind of stop thinking that when this, then this, and really practice that patience and presence and love in the moment. And that is an art, friends. That is something that takes time. It's something that it's a practice that we have to show up to. So I feel like, you know, the divine is saying that, you know, patience is its own reward. So beautiful. Thank you, God. That was awesome. All right. Of course, right? All right, let me finish here. Oh, and this is so beautiful. I've been channeling with my eyes closed until I have to pull a card, and I just opened my eyes and the sun is coming out. It was snowing when I started this recording, and now it is beautifully sunny. So, oh, I love it. Let's see. All right, so the Divine Abundance deck. What is the overall message? What is the overall message? What are you, I'm going to do like, what are you being gifted with this week? What's the overall gift with these experiences, knowing that we have support, you know, as we follow the path of our heart, as we're in service to others, as we check in with our own feelings and trust our own bodies, as we navigate forward, what we're aligned with and what's no longer in alignment. Again, sometimes just knowing that shifts things out of our lives. What are you being gifted with this week, Earth Angels? I love it. You notice all these cards are bluish. It's like throat chakra energy. Throat chakra energy. All right, let me get back to the reading here. Oh, you're being gifted with grief. I love it. Tears are what happen when the ice in the heart melts. So look at all this blue energy. Michael is connected with this royal blue color, and royal blue and indigo and again, these royal blue and indigo colors can also connect with the third eye as well. So I'm thinking like throat and third eye this week. So anyway, grief. Again, if changes are happening in your life, know that grief is an incredible way to heal. So maybe tears this week. You know, I'm going on this women's retreat, and there may be lots of tears, cathartic tears. The work that I do out there can activate tears in myself and others. So again, as I spoke to it earlier in this reading, know that tears cleanse the soul. So you're actually being gifted with being able to consciously move through your grief. And if that grief is transition or change, or things are coming up, maybe things didn't pan out the way you wanted, or maybe you're feeling out of control or frustrated or confused, right? I feel like the divine is coming in to support you this week, but this is a beautiful pathway of where we learn, where we grow, where we evolve from, right? The sadness, this great sadness and pain that I've experienced in my life has gifted me with a wisdom that allows me to experience levels of joy and inner peace that I don't think I would able to achieve without those experiences, right? So reflecting on the past, learning from it and being able to move forward in an empowered way, right? Courage, the lion speaks, right? The lioness, we're in this full moon Leo energy again, which is all about power and control and empowerment. And, it's the ringmaster. Come out into the ring and shine your light, right? I feel like, and this isn't a concept that I came up with, but heart traverse. I like to call us heart traverse. So a lot of earth angels are very introverted, but yet when they got to share their gifts, or when, they're in a place of helping others and being of service, that's where they shine, right? So I am a super introverted person. I would stay home all the time if I could. But I have spoken in front of large groups. I have no problem public speaking in front of 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people. If I'm channeling and I'm working and being of service for the divine. It is a passion of mine, which is so ironic, because I'm sharing my heart love, I'm sharing my heart mind, I'm sharing wisdom, right? And it's a passion for me. But as soon as I'm done, I take off the fancy clothes and I take off the heels and I get in my comfy clothes and I lay on the couch, right? And that's where I'm supposed to be. So I like to call us heart traverse, and that actually is a concept that came from a girl in a hot tub. So she and I were in this hot tub at this spa resort. And again, I was there working, so I don't really live this fancy life, although the universe does gift me with these beautiful experiences while I'm being in service to others. So it was a blessing to be there. And I forget where she was. I think she was down the East Coast, and she was in Sedona, Arizona, soul searching. And we were just talking, and she said that she calls us heart traverse. And I just thought that was such an incredible word. I had her phone number. We exchanged gifts. We had this great conversation, because that's what happens in Sedona, Arizona. You meet these really cool people who are really insightful, and you make these really big connections, and then you may never ever see each other again. And again, she had made an impact on me. But when I got home, I had lost her phone number. I don't know if it fell out in the locker, but I lost her phone number. And so I would like to maybe one day encourage her to write a book about it. Maybe one day she will. But she called us heart traverse. And so I had now adopted that word for earth angels as heart traverse. We're introverted, but yet when we need to share our heart and our passions and our gifts, we are extroverted. And again, I like to give her credit, although I don't remember her name. And again, I lost her information. So I want to share that. But that's the energy that we are, friends, right? And we're going to step more into that as the year unfolds. So again, if there's any of this residual stuff coming up this week, allow it to come up and out as it is melting the ice on the heart. That's where forgiveness is, and that's where your divine wisdom comes from. I love all this blue energy, maybe blanketing yourself into blue this week. All right, so let me close space, thanking all your guardian angels and guides, the archangels, the ascended masters, the divine mother and father, and all their holy beings of light that assisted with this guidance for you this week. Of course, I want to thank the Father, the Mother, the Son, the Archangel Michael, God Most High of the universe, who's connected to God Most High of the universe. And I'm going to ask that any healing that was started continue for as long as it needs to be done. And those are your messages this week, my friends. So my calendar is still open. Obviously, I am not taking appointments this week. But my calendar is open if I can support you in any way. You want to go on and book an appointment for divine guidance. Maybe you're struggling with grief or the loss of a loved one, and you'd like an appointment for a mediumship. Again, the work that I do is very therapeutic. So there's a lot of healing that comes with the mediumship sessions. And then of course, so there's life purpose work and, the combo sessions that I have. I am hoping to put energy work when I get back, on the calendar, March, if not March, April, depending on the healthcare system. And so that is coming if you're local, getting back to Reiki and integrated energy therapy and, magnified healing and these healing modalities. I have classes that are going to be going on the calendar. I started to post them on my website. But there's really not a registration yet because I'm just kind of backlogged over here as I am one person. So I'm working on it. It's all happening. So again, all that information, how to connect with me, is in the description box below this video. So thank you for your likes. Thank you for your subscribes. Thank you for sharing me with your friends and your family and your loved ones and your coworkers. It really is a dream, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So I just, again, want to say thank you. I love you. God loves you so much. Trust in the divine. Trust your intuition. And I send you love with heavenly hugs. Bye for now.